Shalom, everybody, and greetings from Jerusalem. This is Joan Lippis, or Joaning in Jerusalem, welcoming you to lunchtime prayer for Israel. We are looking at the Old City. Well, I've invited Yuval Shaked, who is a neighbor and a very dear brother in the Lord, to come and talk to us because today is such a special day in Israel. So, Yuval, welcome. Tell us something about yourself, and then tell us what it means as an Israeli for this holiday, and you better pronounce it because I'm going to slaughter it. Welcome, Yuval. You want to put on your glasses because it's really hard.
Shalom, everybody. Like Johnny said, my name is Yuval, and I'm an Israeli born. I was born in Nahariya, which is a town on the north border of Israel, right on the coast of the Mediterranean. I was born there in 1971, and growing up on that little town, which today is a big city, but at that time in 71 it was a city that was under severe attacks of the PLO and other terroristic organizations that were shooting rockets from Lebanon towards the northern part of Israel, which that's where I grew up. And growing up in that kind of atmosphere make you feel, or make you grow, that you want, when it will be your time, to join to the IDF and to be a soldier and do as much as you can to protect your people, to protect your borders, and to be part of what it means to be the Israeli society. My father was born in the same town in 1937, and he served in the Israeli army, military, and as his example for me, and then my older sisters that also served in the military. Then when it was my turn at the age of 18, I did my best to get to a unit where I will be a fighter, and I will do my duty to defend the Israeli borders. So I joined to the Golani Brigades, and into a unit that is doing more or less demolition and explosions, which was quite fun, but sometimes also quite scary.
What was scary about it?
Well, first of all, you can lose a finger or two, or even blow yourself away. So always we had to be very much careful of how we're dealing with the explosives. But it's more scary when you are out in Lebanon, and during my service, we were most of the time behind or over the Israeli border with Lebanon, in Lebanon. And during that time, to be there and to set ambushes and to do patrols and to do your guarding at different places, sometimes it was quite scary because you are, as a young soldier, you are trained for all kind of scenarios, and then you are standing in the guarding post or doing patrol, and all these scenarios start to run in your mind. What if, and what if, and what if? And so when you are scared, you're running one of those scenarios, and you're thinking like, okay, if I will be attacked from here, or if they will be shooting from there, what I'm going to do? And that helps to deal with the fear and to put it aside and not to fall into it, because when you fall into fear, you will not function, and that's a very scary thing, not to function when you need to function.
What I'm hearing is a sense of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
That there was an excitement, but there was also a sense of responsibility. If I'm not going to do it, who's going to do it?
That's correct.
Was there any time when you came out of the military, was it any difficulties to adjust back to civilian life?
Well, when you come out of 3 years service at the age of 21, so you want to do something completely different, because 3 years you were wearing uniforms and you had to wake up very early and to always obey orders. So you want to do something different. So in my case, I just worked for a little bit and saved some money and traveled to the States. Other people doing different things. Some people travel to South America or just doing whatever they feel to do that will give them some excitement, but also to kind of to break the cycle of being in under commandment and under a rule of someone else, of someone that is higher than you in the ranks, and you have to obey to what he or most of the time it's he that tell you to do. So everybody going and doing something that fit their character and their needs at that time. I went to the States, and I have family there, so it was easy to travel over there.
I was going to ask you why the States?
Because I have a family there, relatives that moved from Israel to California, and staying with them was in a way easier for me, as my English was not good at that time. So I felt it would be better to be with family that can help and kind of can show me around a little bit easier.
So what is this day? I said it's a very special day. Tell us about this day and what does it mean to you?
So since 1948, when Israel was born as a modern state of Israel, unfortunately our neighbors around us and the people that live with us were not too happy about it, and still they're not happy about it. And there were a lot of terroristic attacks and wars, and people died. And Israel decided to form a day that we call it the Memorial Day. And it's a day where we remember all those people that died in terroristic attacks, but also fell while they were defending the borders of Israel, in or on the border, in the country or on the border, or sometimes even out of the borders of Israel. And it's a very special day because we want to take a pause, to stop for a moment the daily routine, just to remember them and to take a moment to say, I didn't forget you. I remember, and you started, but we will continue. So I think there is hardly any family in the country that didn't lost someone, or that a neighbor, or they know someone that fell in a war or in a terroristic attack. So in our family, we don't have in the close family any loss, but we have relatives that died, and also two friends during the service in Lebanon died from explosion and a gunshot. So it's a special day to remember them and to pause and just to reflect on what happened, and that the death of them allowing us to be here today as free people.
You once said to me that actually this day is harder for you than what we celebrated last week when we had the memorial for the Holocaust victims. Why is this day even harder for you?
That's a good question. I think that it's not only for me, it's for the rest of the Israelis, because the Holocaust happened 80-something years ago, and yes, I mean, we lost 6 million people out of our nation, but out of that Israel was born. But the memorial for the soldiers and the fallen people, it's live. I mean, a few months ago, a woman was killed in Samaria just because she went for a jogging, and someone killed her very brutally only because she was Jewish, and he had an uncle that was in the Israeli jail because he was a terrorist. So we are living it on a daily basis, that people get hurt or get affected by those attacks. And it just very much alive in our life, those attacks. So it's a roller coaster this day, a roller coaster of emotions because of all the loss that is it's happening almost on a daily basis.
I like the way you use the word roller coaster, because today is the day of mourning, but then what happens when the sun goes down today?
So that's the I think unique. I find it very unique as Israeli that we start on the evening with the memorial, with the siren and a very impressive ceremony at the Western Wall. And for 24 hours we are just mourning and remembering those that died. But then at the evening of the next day, we turn from mourning into celebration, and then fireworks and all the ceremonies that are opening the Independence Day, where we celebrate our independency.
So we're talking about turning our mourning into dancing. That would be a tremendous roller coaster. You know, one minute you're mourning and you're crying, and the next minute you're dancing with fireworks. That's got to be a little bit confusing.
It is. For many people, it's very hard. For many people that are parents or relatives of someone that died, that's very hard. But on the other hand, it's something that's helping them to appreciate what happened and causing them to celebrate and to not to forget their dear one, but to say, we are here and praise God that we have a free country.
You know, we're listening to all this sound around us, not only the ravens, but all this other, because Israel is a very thriving country, and it's wonderful to be out of lockdown. All right, then there's another question that I have here too, that there is a standard joke. When you have two Israelis or two Jews, you have 5 opinions.
Or 10.
Or 10, because we can flip back and forth and back and forth. But Israel is very special. We may be very separate and very argumentative, but there's also another side of us.
Well, there is another side that we are very sensitive and very, we can be very much arguing, and many times tourists see two Israelis talking and they think that they are about to have a fight, but actually they just argue or talk about something that they disagree. But yes, when it comes to a war or to an attack on the country, we are very much united and we are very much standing beside one another. But on a daily basis, yes, sometimes we can be like anyone else, start to kind of not attack, but yeah, we can be like people to people, unfortunately, instead of loving all the time.
You told me there's a Hebrew expression which I still don't understand about sometimes when Israelis turn. What was the expression? Something about man to
Adam le'adam ze'ev. A person to person is like a wolf, that they will fight for different things and even devour one another. And people, I mean, like anywhere in the world, people will shoot one another on the road because of not letting someone else to come in. When you have to give in on the road, and people will be very aggressive to one another. But if there is a war or a terroristic attack, then everybody are joining together like one body. So we have these conflicts that we have to live with. We have no other choice.
And what I just love about this country is that if there is a problem someplace else in the world, Israel is usually the first country, the first people that go to help.
Yes, that's true. That when there is something going on and anywhere we need help, then or someone need help, Israel will be the first one to send troops. Usually it's after earthquakes, because Israel is quite advanced in helping with an issue like that, and we send our people everywhere, even if it's to South America or even to countries that we don't have relations with. Like whenever Iran having an earthquake, and they have it quite often, we helping, or we are offering our help. They don't take it, but we always offer our help with issues of humanitarian issues. Yes, because yes, we have that saying, which is not our saying, it's in Latin, the man to man behaving like wolves, but we have the saying that every person is like a whole world, and we are always willing to help whoever need help. So we are not going to let someone to perish because of when we can need, because the Bible commands that when you can need, when you can help, don't stay behind.
So I've lived here for 22 years, almost half of your lifetime, as a matter of fact. You just had a birthday. So I've seen changes in these last 22 years. Different people, but you've got 50 years on me. So how have you seen Israel change over your lifetime?
So Israel is a nation of conglomerate of people that coming from different parts of the world. We had waves of what we call aliyah or aliyot in plural, immigrants that came from different parts of the world. It was North Africa, it was America and Europe, a little bit from Asia, but people coming all over. And the ones that I remember are the Russians that came in the 70s, 80s, and then also in the 90s, 90, 91, 92, there were waves of Russians that came over, and you could see the difference between the people. The ones that came in the 70s and in the 80s are different than the one that came in the 90s. And then we have also the Ethiopian Jews, the ones that escaped, and there was a very known operation that was called Mivtza Shlomo, the Solomon operation, where the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence, was working on the ground there, preparing the people, and then in one night they landed with planes and flew the people to Israel to back home. So it was a very emotional time for us to see our brothers coming back home, and every group of immigrants that coming back, when we see them at the airport, many times they just get off the plane and kissing the ground. And for them it's very special to think, wow, I'm back home. God brought me and He is faithful to His promises.
It is definitely fulfillment of prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, tell us about your spiritual life. I mean, has there been a change? We don't know anything about it too much on that level.
I came to faith when I was 23 in the States through a relative that was already a believer, and then he spoke with me about it. So we had a lot of arguments, but eventually the coin dropped, you can say, that of the understanding of who is God and what He's doing in my life and who is the Messiah. And as a believer living here, yes, I can see Israel as a fulfillment of His prophecies, but again, there are living here and reading the Bible, a lot of times, a lot of things coming true and becoming alive, but there's a lot of struggle because, like you read in the Bible, that God had struggles with the Hebrews. The Hebrews are still here, and the struggles still exist. So, but it's easier to go through the struggles as with faith than without. That's my personal opinion about it, that even in a sometimes low times in life, and we all go through low times, when you have faith, it's easier to go out of this low time than to remain stubborn without faith.
Yuval, we're talking to people who love Israel, who pray for Israel. That's why it's called Lunchtime Prayer for Israel. How can people pray for you?
Well, thank you for offering that. Health, we always need to have better health, and without getting into details, but it's for getting having a better health will be a good prayer. At the moment, I'm a year without work, and that is quite hard to go through. So, praise the Lord. Financially, we're doing okay. We had to cut down or to tighten the belt, like we say, which is fine. Sometimes in life you have to do it, but it's not only about the financial thing. It's just to work, to be functional, to go out and to do something. So yeah, if that can be also a great prayer to that work will start again, either in tourism or something else, but to have work.
What he neglected to say is he is one of the top tour guides in his country. He used to have tours scheduled 4 years in advance, and suddenly it's all gone. It's just all gone.
Yeah.
But he is one, as I said in the beginning, he's one of the kindest people that I know, and he is a servant. He does things for people, and he's just a very, very special friend.